At a time when there has been so much debate about the future of cinema, two things have happened: the mega success of Pathan and the enormous success of Netflix docu-series The Romantics. I'm Barkha Dutt, here with the Mojo story. In a few moments from now, we'll be going across to Los Angeles, where we'll be joined by Smriti Mudhra, the director of the much-acclaimed four-part docu-series The Romantics. That is really a love song to the film industry, but also the romance of the movies. It was a romance that seemed to be under siege for a while, but the success of the series, the nostalgia trip that the series has taken us on, and of course, Shah Rukh's bounce back with Pathan are possibly telling us that whatever was happening was a blip, or was it? To find out, let's go across to Smriti Mudhra, who joins us now. You, of course, remember her from Indian matchmaking as well, apart from A Suitable Girl. So it's great to see you here, Smriti, and congratulations on the success of The Romantics. I've got to ask you this, I know you've said that both the success of Pathan and The Romantics tell us that the magic of cinema is very much alive. But we've also seen cinema go through a kind of struggle, a downturn, a period where hashtag warriors are able to make film stars and producers feel somewhat insecure. There have been calls for boycotts of actors in movies. Do you think the success of your docu-series, really a love song, I would say, to cinema, has silenced everybody? Or do you think this is a good phase and many serious questions that plague cinema in the age of fast-changing technology and, consumer patterns of consumption changing still remain?
I think, Barkha, first and foremost, I think it's important to separate the existential crisis happening globally, when it comes to the theatrical experience, the movie-going experience, which is the result of evolving technology and also, the global pandemic and, things like that. It's important to separate that from the sort of bad faith social media movements, that are meant to divide us, on ideological grounds. I think those are two separate things. One is a sort of industry issue, that's reacting to changing technology, that's reacting to a once in a lifetime, pandemic and the challenges that has brought to movie going. It's a lot of factors like that. And the other is really, about trying to find ways in which to divide people. So I think in terms of the sort of, theatrical crisis that's, I think people are facing in film industries around the world, I think that will resolve itself because, I think cinema has, if anything, proven that it's resilient, and it's managed to find a way to sustain in spite of evolutions in technology, from the advent of television to the advent of VHS, now, of course, OTTs and streaming. There's always a bit of a market correction. There's a bit of a, period in which we sort of figure out, like, if we have this, is there space for this? And eventually, I think, what we eventually come to realize is that we love going to the movies. There is something about that collective experience that's so ingrained in us. And I think this is especially true of Indians. It's so deeply ingrained in us. It is such a ritual that's important to us that I don't think we are going to give it up anytime soon. I think we'll find, we'll continue to go through these processes where we find ways, for whether it's through the content or through the actual experience itself, to allow for that theatrical experience, even in the face of evolving technology. As far as, these sort of movements, these hashtag movements and things like that, I think, look, I'm always one who is willing to engage with thoughtful and good faith critique. But I think movements that are meant to divide and are executed in bad faith, eventually they will fall away, especially when they're trying to take down, something that people hold so dearly, like the experience of going to the movies, which, really for a long time, and I think, you see this in The Romantics, was actually something that was meant to unite people. It was common ground, for a lot of people. And I think, what I hope that, the success of Pathan and, of course, the love that's been shown to The Romantics proves is that, this is one topic that we actually don't want to be cynical about. We want to enjoy that collective experience of going to the movies.
Yeah.
they mean so much to us, so I don't think we're going to give it up anytime soon.
No, I agree with you, and I've always argued, even with friends in the film industry, that a good movie cannot be kept down, and too much attention is actually paid by publicity managers and PR agencies to, what's trending on Twitter. It doesn't matter; they're online mobs, and they need to be ignored. That's my personal view, and I think the success of Pathan had the last laugh and the last word on that, as has, in a way, the magic that you recreate for us with your series. Let me ask you this. Does the romance diminish or alter with the platform? In other words, as we move from what used to be called the big screen, we've already gone from single screen theaters to the multiplex. We're now to, on OTT. Some of us are watching movies on our phones. Does the romance change? Does the language of cinema change, you think? Will it have to change?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I think, certainly, creators look for ways to correct, and evolve with technology. But I think, really, I don't think anyone has really put it better than James Cameron that I've heard. He recently was asked about this very question. Obviously he makes movies on the largest scale meant to be consumed, on the largest scale. And, he was asked about this question, and what he said, and I'm paraphrasing him, is that it's not about the size of the screen you're watching something on or the environment in which you're watching something. What makes the theatrical experience special is that it's the contract between the audience and the content that they're consuming. It's the agreement that for this period of time, for this 2 hours of this film, or whatever it is, this hour for this show, we're not going to multitask. We're going to pay attention. We're going to allow ourselves to be absorbed in that experience of watching this movie, of watching this television show, of listening to this music or appreciating this art that's been created, with so much care and love and, for an audience. And I think that is the thing, that if you really want to bring it down to fundamentals, that is the thing that we should try to protect. It doesn't matter, what size screen you watch it on, and for some people watching things on their phones is more accessible. There's lots of people who don't have the luxury of going into a multiplex or taking 2 hours of the day to watch something in a movie theater. The screen that's closest to them is the one that's most accessible. But, if we can try to preserve that relationship, that I'm not going to be folding laundry or cooking or doing other things while I watch this, that magic can still preserve regardless of the size of the screen.
Now, of course, the romantics has got attention for a lot of reasons, but one of the main things that is being spoken of is that you managed to bring Aditya Chopra from the shadows into the public gaze. And, how did you do that? How did you convince him? And, what was your takeaway from talking to this completely reclusive, shy person whom I think not many know? And there's a lovely story in there of how he's looking at these mustard fields. I mean, Kajol tells that story of how he's looking, a grumpy Aditya Chopra is looking at the mustard fields, and he says, wouldn't it be great if you had, the hero and the heroine running through these towards each other? And that becomes like a seminal cultural moment in the collective consciousness of a nation. So the mustard fields and the DDLJ moment, yes. But Adi Chopra, how do you bring him out of the shadows?
That was maybe the biggest challenge, of this whole process of making the series. But I think that moment that you described is exactly the key, to how I was able, to get him on camera. Just that in that one clip, it's a behind the scenes clip for those who haven't seen the series yet, where, he just, this smile breaks on his face. He's looking at these mustard fields. He's talking about visualizing this woman in white, running across this field, and just the smile spreads across his face about how magical that moment's going to be. And I think that therein is the key, to Aditya Chopra, is he is absolutely obsessed and passionate about movies. His greatest, in some sense, you might say, like, his Achilles heel is the creative integrity, of any project that he takes on. And, when we started this process of making the series, initially it was very much like, we will assist you in whatever you need in terms of access to the materials and archives and whatnot. And we can have as many off the record conversations as you want, but I won't appear in the series. And then slowly, I convinced him that, okay, at least just for your personal archives, we're here, you're sort of in that headspace. We're talking every day, you're reminiscing and recalling all of these stories. Let's just capture it on camera, keep it for your personal archives. And then he agreed to that. And then I just started editing that footage. It was so amazing. Like, it was so incredible. I just started editing that footage, into the series. And then when it was done, I showed it to him, knowing that once he saw it and he saw how much his presence enhanced the series, that he wouldn't be able to say no. And thankfully that ended up being true.
Fascinating. And then, of course, there's the fascinating sort of evolution of Shah Rukh. I think we don't remember today that though in the series, there's this entire conversation about how Shah Rukh is told that, look, you've got to be someone whom everybody loves. There's something in your persona for everybody. When Shah Rukh actually starts in the movies, it's not always as the much loved character, right? He starts actually, if we look back, with slightly negative sort of roles. And then he keeps asking for, an action movie, and he's told, you're not an action movie, you're a romantic, you're the quintessential romantic boy that people can take home, and everybody from the grandmother to the youngest girl in the house will adore you. But the irony then, Smriti, is that the biggest hit that's come out recently is Shah Rukh as an action, is an action hero, which we would never have thought of him as 20 years ago, 10 years ago. How do you make sense of that paradox?
Well, he finally got his wish. He finally got Aditya Chopra to
Yeah.
give him his action movie. But I think what's so incredible about Shah Rukh Khan and why he thrives in every genre, be it action or drama or romance, is that the common thing in all of those genres that he's done is just he has this connection with the audience. He has this vulnerability, that comes across no matter what the genre is, no matter what the story is. And I think it's because, if I can presume, I think it's because he loves what he does so passionately, and he has such respect for the audience and such love for the audience, and craves that love, from the audience. So he opens himself up and he allows himself to be vulnerable. Even you see this in Pathan. I was actually quite, amazed and surprised that there was that softness, that Shah Rukh Khan, effervescence, and that Shah Rukh Khan vulnerability, even in a film like Pathan. And so it's not the genre that makes him a star, actually. It's what Shah Rukh Khan brings to the genre that makes him a star, and that elevates the genre of whatever he's doing. And I think I do hope that he'll do another romance soon. But I think it's really that magic that he brings and that vulnerability he brings to every role he does that makes the audience just fall in love with him again and again.
Aditya and Uday, who's also a producer on the project, his brother Uday Chopra, they deal with what's come to be known as the nepotism debate in the industry. They deal with it marginally by pointing to Uday as an example of somebody who couldn't, in fact, become a breakthrough actor. This debate has been used to beat up a number of actors on even, I was interviewing Janvi Kapoor at one of the festivals we curate, We the Women, and she spoke about how, look, nepotism is a valid debate, but it doesn't give you a reason to hate people. Actors face a lot of social media hate for being people who got an easy entry. How do you see this question, the nepotism question?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a nuanced topic that's been flattened by social media, frankly, and I think film industries anywhere in the world, I mean, we've had this similar debate, in Hollywood, in America, where I live in Hollywood. I think film industries and celebrities especially are easy targets because, one, their work is so visible, and there's a sheen of glamour, in the work and in the lifestyle that the work provides. But also, film, and entertainment, it feels so impenetrable for so many people. It is such a fantasy, for so many people. So I do understand the frustration, and I do understand that there is an imbalance, in terms of access. Meritocracy is a myth. It doesn't exist anywhere. It doesn't exist in film industries and entertainment. It doesn't exist in any industry in this world, honestly. There's always going to be those who have extra privileges and those who have disadvantages, or lack of those privileges. I think, we're not going to advance this debate by pretending that can all be erased by some angry post on social media or by targeting people who have had privileges. I think as those, and I count myself among these people, as those who have had advantages and privileges, I think it's important for us to acknowledge that. and also to acknowledge the limitations of that. It's important for us to use those privileges not only to advance our own careers but also open the circle for more people. But I think it's also important generally for us to understand that this is not anything new. It's not unique to entertainment. It's existed in every industry since the dawn of time, and it's not disappearing anytime soon. So the more that we can have more nuanced and good faith conversations about it, and the more that those who have access and privilege can use that to expand opportunities for others, not only will the sort of sting out of this debate be removed, but honestly it'll be better. It's better business. It'll create a healthier industry overall. So hopefully we can use this sort of debate that's arisen, not just to sort of point fingers at each other, but actually say, okay, we know this exists, we know this happens, where can we take this next? How can we push this further?
Yeah. Finally, Smriti, the romantics and all the love that it's been shown comes at a time when there's been this pretty interesting debate over, comparing cinema that's coming out from the south of India to the cinema that's coming out from what has been known as Bollywood, though the one thing that everybody in the romantic says is how much they hate that word. But let's say the Hindi film industry, and then all of these sort of mega successful movies. So before Pathan, you actually had this moment when every movie that seemed to come from one of the southern states had more chances of doing well at the box office than a movie that was coming out of Mumbai. How do you see that debate?
I don't see it as a valid debate. We shouldn't be pitting ourselves against our brethren, against our countrymen, against our sister industry. I really believe in this case. The rising tide lifts all boats, and whatever is getting people into the theater, whatever is getting people excited about going to the movies, and whatever films, no matter which region of India they come from, whatever region of South Asia they come from, all of those films, the ones that manage to break out globally, they are ambassadors for us. Those films are ambassadors for all of us, and we should celebrate the wins of South Indian films just as much as South Indian filmmakers should celebrate the wins of Hindi films, because at the end of the day, the more people understand that there is great cinema coming from this part of the world, the more the appetite will increase to watch all kinds of films regionally. So we should be supporting each other, and we should be celebrating our wins, because one day one film is on top, the next day another film will be on top. It's RRR one day, it's Pathan the next, it'll be a Punjabi film the next day, a Pakistani film one day. I mean, we should be celebrating all of this because it really is good. It creates, like I said before, it creates a healthier industry for all of us.
I have to end by asking you what the movies mean to you. I think there's this moment in the Romantics when Abhishek Bachchan says that, look, our movies are not like movies anywhere else in the world. So if you do try and have a kind of logical conversation with somebody who's not from our part of the world and try and explain why our movies are operatic, why we have these songs, what those songs mean to us, how they become part of our subculture, how they seep into our weddings, our celebrations, how we have associations of even loss, heartbreak, I don't know, aspiration, melancholia, every emotion can actually be pinned onto the memory of a movie, growing up at least, especially. What does cinema mean to you, Smriti?
Oh my gosh, Barkha, it's the most personal thing for me, because cinema it was something that I've been raised with. My father was a filmmaker. My father was, middle-class boy from Calcutta, zero connections to anyone in the movies. He was exceptionally bright. He went to IIT. He got a scholarship to come to America, study engineering. But the whole time since he was a little boy, his dream was to make movies. His passion was movies. And he pursued that passion, and he achieved his goal. He became a filmmaker against all odds at a time where there was no one, to help in an industry that was completely foreign to him in America. But he somehow did it. And he sustained that career, until the day he died. He was in pre-production on a movie on the day he died. It's, for me, it's not only something that I grew up around, both literally, growing up on film sets and, but also just it's very much my connection to my father, because I grew up watching movies with him, and he's the one who really gave me that passion and helped me to understand the language of cinema, and also really to appreciate the complexity and the beauty of cinema from my home country, from my motherland, from India. And it's something that as I progressed in my career and as I, went to film school and became a film student, I felt, frustrated because I felt that the poetry and the beauty, of cinema, South Asian cinema, Indian cinema, Hindi cinema, it was never discussed on the same level as we discussed other global cinema. And it was really sort of a passion of mine, to do something to correct that, to show that Hindi films isn't just, derivatives of Hollywood with some song and dance thrown in, that there is, like Abhishek Bachchan so articulately said, it has its own cinematic language, it has its own style, its own beauty, and it speaks to us. It's not seeking validation from another audience halfway around the world. We are enough, and we have proven that, with the success of our films. So it's been very important to me, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to make the series and sort of share that, and to be able to share that, with the world, and especially, create something that reminds all of us, just how important the movies are to us.
Absolutely. And I think The Romantics captures that spirit. So congratulations and lovely talking to you. Take care, Smriti.
Thank you so much.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.